In this video, I'll be showing you exactly how I would learn to program if I had to start from scratch in 2026. For context, I run the top community for Python developers on Skool.com with over 1,000 members. I've helped scale companies to almost $1 million a year in revenue, built apps to support thousands of users, and I work from anywhere and can get many opportunities that I wouldn't have been able to get otherwise if I didn't know how to program. This is what we will be covering in this video. The first step is to learn the fundamentals. Next, I'm going to be going over how AI fits in since it's really hot right now. Then I'm going to be talking about projects because I think they're the best way to learn. Then I'm going to be talking about improving projects. For each of these steps, I'll be going in depth with every single thing that you can do for them. So for example, for learning the fundamentals, which I'll cover in a second, I'm going to be going over how you can do that, all the different ways you can learn how to program, the most efficient, the least efficient, my thoughts on them, when they fit for you, etc. So first, let's get started with learning the fundamentals. All right, so first, to preface this, how and what you learn depends on what you want to do. So you're going to have a very different path if you want to get like a FANG job compared to if you want to just learn how to program for your business or to do freelance stuff. So depending on what you want to do dictates how you should learn and what you should learn. For example, if you want to get a FANG job, it's going to be pretty different compared to if you want to just learn how to program to create your own startup. Different activities will be giving you different ROI and leverage depending on what your goals are. Each of these things I talk about here, I'm going to be giving as much nuance as I can for depending on your situation. With that being said, I've broken down here the 5 main ways to learn that have helped me a ton and that I know a lot of people have gotten to where they are right now because of these 5. And most methods of learning can fit under one of these 5. Courses, communities, college, boot camps, and I'm going to be going through these one at a time, giving you guys recommendations for them and also just explaining like in what situations you'll want to use this and what the pros and sort of cons are of it. So first, courses. So for courses here, I've broken down some pros, cons, who they're good for, who they're bad for, and also given some recommendations here that I'll go over. So pros of courses are that they give you a streamlined path. Everything is compiled into one place. Sometimes you get certificates, and there's a lot of resources and courses out there. The cons are that sometimes they cost you money depending on where you get your course from. Courses are very saturated, so it's hard to tell what's good and what's bad. Another con is that you need to know what you should learn to pick a good course, and courses can also have too much information when starting out, right? The goal of this stage is to learn what's possible. That's it. You just want to learn the very basics so you can move on to like creating things that actually teach you more stuff and that give you more ROI and value for your time. But when you're just starting out, you don't even know what's possible yet. So you want to get like a baseline understanding first in order to do anything else past the stage, whether if it's with AI or without AI, etc. You just need to learn what's possible first. Who courses are good for? Intro courses are good for anyone if you just use them for learning fundamentals. If you need specific knowledge or certificates, courses can also be great because you can find something very specific to what you're trying to do. If you have no idea at all what you want to do and you're just starting, picking a course can get you started if you just follow the steps, especially if it's a beginner one. You just use it in order to get you an idea of what is possible and potentially what you want to do. Who courses are bad for? So courses are bad for you if you need something very niche that doesn't have too many courses. If you get stuck in courses too much and don't apply things, then courses do not work. And if you already have a baseline of knowledge and aren't bottlenecked by anything, courses are more of a form of procrastination a lot of times. So now for some recommendations. So Odin project is great. It's completely free. It's just theodinproject.com. And this is a web development based course. I think they have a few different paths here. They have foundations, JavaScript, Ruby on Rails, etc. So if you just click explore on foundations and go through this, you'll have a great starting point. Next, in that community, Skool.com/coder that I run, I have a full free intro to Python course set up that you can go through here, and I'll talk about it a bit more in the community section. Udemy is also a great resource that I've used a ton for finding courses. If you just search like programming or beginner programming, you could find tons of courses and they have sales all the time. Wait for when there's a sale, don't pay the $140. Wait till like right now where it's like $15 for a course and just choose any beginner one that you might want to do. I think Python's great for beginners. I think JavaScript's great for beginners. C, if you're more advanced and more math oriented, could be very good, especially if you want to do something more traditional programming like. YouTube tutorials work great, but you don't want to get stuck here, right? A lot of people, like I said, procrastinate with tutorials. On YouTube, that's no exception. So if you look up like beginner programming course, so I would look up beginner programming full course. You want one of these ones. freeCodeCamp is awesome. They're also a great website that you can go to try to learn. Codecademy as well. But basically basically the point is to find a good resource that is a beginner course that will teach you everything you need in order to understand how programming works and what's possible with it. So then you can start iterating on that with higher ROI activities. That was the last point, just anything that can teach you what's possible. All right, so next, I'm going to be talking a bit more about communities to expand onto my first point. For communities, the pros are that they usually have courses. They have people you can interact with for specific questions. A lot of communities have some form of accountability tied in with them, and a lot of communities have networking or other resources to actually help you also learn. So the cons are that sometimes they cost money. It can be hard to find a good community sometimes, and it can be daunting for beginners. So who communities are good for? I honestly think communities are really good for everyone. They give you a ton of opportunities. As long as you don't use them as a form of procrastination, they're a great resource. You can meet people, help other people out, get help from people, find opportunities, etc. And I think that communities are a great use of your time and resources in order to propel yourself forward with whatever you're trying to do in your life. I've personally found a ton of opportunities through communities, but the main con is that you have to put yourself out there, and it can be a little bit daunting. Now for some recommendations. The community I run is completely free, skool.com/coder. It'll be the top link in the description. No reason not to join. I can help you out. I'm in there. I'm active in there. There's a ton of active members. I think skool.com in general is very good. You just go to skool.com. I'm not sure what it looks like when you're just joining, but you should see something like this: discover communities or create your own. And you can just look up like programming, for example. Software Developer Academy is pretty good. This is a good community. It just depending on whatever you're trying to learn, right? So just search whatever you're trying to learn. So web development, for example, say you want to go into web development, web design mastery, better SEO, and then when you're in there, you can make posts, ask questions, find more resources, etc. Like it's a great way to just level up and improve your skills really quickly. I think Substack is also great. It's more of a like social media platform and newsletter platform. You can search on Substack for programming, and you can find a ton of things like here, Michael Christ. It's sort of like Twitter plus a newsletter. Basically, people make posts, and it's basically like a blog site for anything you're trying to learn. Say you're trying to learn like C# programming. You should be able to just search something like this, and the results will come up here. For example, 48 leak code problems that cover most coding interview patterns. You can find tons of great people and resources like this. You can go through the comments if you have an account and message people, DM people, and try to just make some connections. I think Discords and other online communities I've seen work out really good also. If you just Google whatever you're trying to learn, so Python community, for example. So then you can click through some of these. It might take you a little bit to try to find one with this method. Python.org community, Stack Overflow. You want to find something where there's active people and you can sort of like have a good account and presence in there, and people can get to know you, you can get to know people, etc. I think Skool does a really good job at this, and that's why I've invested a ton of my time in Skool over the past like year or so. But anything you can really find, here's a Python Discord. Kaggle is great, but basically the goal is to just find connections to other people where you can ask them questions, get some form of accountability, etc. All right, so next we're going to be going over college. All right, for the pros of college, college tells you exactly what to learn, right? One of the hardest things when you still don't know what you're trying to do is trying to figure out even what order to learn things. College gives you that exact path. You have to take these classes in order to get this degree, etc. So you know all the skills that you need. It also gives you a ton of authority after you finish. A degree is super great, better than most certificates. There's still a lot of value in a degree, and just being able to say that you have a degree will, a lot of times to people who don't know much about programming, give you more authority than someone who just doesn't have a degree and says they're self-taught, unless they have something else like projects or experience that outweighs that. College is also a great community and has great network access generally. If you go to college, you'll meet a ton of professors who you can ask things to, other students, alumni, etc. They usually have a ton of extra resources and opportunities. And specific to computer science, a computer science degree is very versatile. You can use it for a lot of things. A lot of companies still value it. And yeah, the cons of college are that it's expensive. It's not the most efficient way to learn. There's a lot of extra hoops to hop through in order to do anything or in order to learn stuff. And it takes a lot of time. It like 4 years is a long time commitment in order to just get started, right? So who college is good for? College is good for people who need more skills to make some money, people who want to take a traditional job route. And if you can get a full ride / large scholarship to go, then I think it's good for you. And there's not really much of a reason not to. Who college is not good for? People who want to start a business, people who already have the skills and know what they want to do. If you cannot get a full ride / scholarship, I don't think that college is really good. I don't think it's worth it a ton. And if you aren't very self-driven, I don't think college is worth it. Like, that might be a different take than you've heard a lot, because a lot of people say you don't go to college if you're not self-driven, or if you are self-driven, because then you can succeed outside of college. But I think in order to be successful in general, you need a lot of self-determination in college and outside of college, no matter what. If you just go to college and sort of passively go through everything and just sort of go through the motions of it, it's going to be like if you're doing that for anything else, and you're just basically going to waste, not fully waste, but sort of waste 4 years of your life instead of doing things that can get you a higher ROI on your time and skills. So for college recommendations, go anywhere that you don't have to pay a ton of money for. If you're going to college, I would say like this matters the most, because there's pros and cons to every size of college. If you go to like Harvard or massive college, obviously you have a much bigger like alumni reputation and it's more credibility once you graduate. But if you go to smaller colleges, there's also a lot more opportunities typically, because in a massive college that's full of students, those opportunities are pretty evenly dispersed, scholarships or jobs or anything like that. In smaller colleges, they actually have more opportunities per student from what I've seen. So go anywhere where you don't have to pay a ton of money for, and that's going to give you the best return on anything you do. All right, so next I'm going to be going over boot camps. All right, so for boot camps, I'm just going to be going over the pros and cons of them, because I don't have a ton of personal experience with boot camps. I went to college, I have a community, I've taken courses. I haven't directly taken any boot camps, so I'm just going to be telling you my pros and cons for them. So the pros are that they give you a streamlined path, like the same way that college does or a course does. You just have a specific thing to follow to learn, and it tells you basically what to learn, right? It's not a massive time commitment. Usually boot camps are pretty quick. It's not like college where you're going to be spending 4 years before you can actually get an ROI off of what you do. They teach you a ton and usually give you good results, very compact, and you can usually leverage those results in order to get you opportunities or push yourself further. And they usually have a form of community tied to them, right? The cons are that they don't teach you everything you need to know. A lot of people who come out of boot camps, from what I've seen, end up overconfident of their skills and think that they know more than they do, and it ends up shooting themselves in the foot, because instead of trying to learn those places where they don't know enough yet or they could improve, they just go through it with sort of like false confidence, I would say, in order to push through, and it takes them longer to actually learn those fundamentals that they don't learn the other traditional ways. Sometimes they're expensive. It's hard to find a good boot camp, and they're less trusted by people after you finish. If you say I have a college degree or a certificate, people are going to give you a lot more authority than if you say I went to a boot camp, typically. And the only caveat to that is if you get good results and you build some projects and stuff that then you can show people, that is great authority to people. If you can say, hey, I built this software web app that has 30 users on it now, and et cetera, something like that. That is a great way to use boot camps in order to leverage it into more ROI and authority quickly. All right, so last but not least, I'm going to be talking about books and going over all the pros and cons, etc. for books. All right, for the pros of books, they're pretty affordable. They go very deep into a subject. They can fill in gaps a lot that you maybe didn't learn with other resources. They give you a learning path if you read from start to finish and can find the right book. And they're a very efficient learning method, right? Cons are that they take a lot of time and a lot of energy and focus. They don't give you any authority after. If you just say, oh, I read a book about this, it's a lot less authority than if you say, oh, I have a certificate about this. And if you don't know the pre-existing knowledge you need, it can be very difficult in order to get through a book and to learn everything. Books are good for people who know what they need to learn. So if you have a bottleneck or you run into a wall somewhere and you know that you need to learn about networking more, reading a networking book and studying it a bit can help you get past that very quickly. People who have a lot of discipline to actually read through a whole book will teach you a ton. If you can get through a whole book and really understand it, that's more than multiple college courses generally. And I think they're always good as a supplementary source. They're the main reason, I think, why colleges go off of textbooks. They make you read a textbook and have that with you. A lot of courses will recommend books to read with it. So if you're learning something, I think that just having a book for reference and for guide and to read stuff more in depth is very efficient and a good use of your time. Books are not good for people who are undisciplined and people who do not know at all what they need to learn. So now for some recommendations. I don't have specific title recommendations. Instead, generally when I'm looking for books, I tend to look at the publisher, right? With programming books, there are a few publishers who I think consistently have very good quality books. The first of those is Manning, which is right here. Manning.com is their website, and you can just look up Manning programming books. Let me see. They have a catalog here. Say you want to do software engineering, game development, for example. They have a ton here that you can just get or read through, etc., or find to look for somewhere else. No Starch Press is the next one. No Starch Press is very simple the way they explain things, so they're very good for beginners. Automate Excel with Python, The Developer's Guide to AI, Totally TypeScript, etc. Very great books. NoStarch.com is their website. The next one is O'Reilly. So O'Reilly has tons of books. They might have the most I think they do have the most out of those other ones that I've shown you so far. And their website is O'Reilly.com, or you can just search O'Reilly programming book space, whatever topic you're trying to learn. And the last one, this isn't a publishing company, but Humble Bundle, right here, humblebundle.com. They have book bundles. They mostly sell games, but they have book bundles that tend to be very good. And generally they have programming bundles where you can get a bunch of books, sometimes by those publishers that I just talked about, for very cheap. So for example, right now they have these two programming bundles. So Cybex, Certification Prep, AWS, Cisco, Competa, and more by Wiley. For this one, for $25, you get 21 books here with study guides, practice tests, etc. if you're trying to learn that. Intelligent Agents by Apress. Apress is also very good, a very good publisher. But for $25, you get these 20 books of AI identities, agentic AI revolution, etc. So this is a great resource that I've used a ton throughout my life so far in order to get more books and more resources for very cheap. Once you know what's possible, the next step is to start creating things. This, after you know the basics of what you can create and sort of how things work, is the best use of your time and will get you the most credibility and authority no matter what vehicle you choose for actually learning those intro skills and fundamentals. So now I'm going to be talking really quickly about AI before I get into projects. So AI is a great tool that you 100% should use and that you should learn how to use it to your advantage instead of over-relying on it. The best programmers I've seen, especially with AI, know what they're trying to build and know what they're doing and just use AI sort of as the vehicle in order to build it. If you can do that as a beginner and still try to understand as much as possible about what you're building and what you're actually doing, then AI is great and you should use it a ton. If you are not that type of person and you just mindlessly end up vibe coding and typing to AI, you're not going to get that high of leverage on your time. Because what I've seen happen is that you will run into an issue generally that you can't really solve efficiently or well without understanding something, without using AI. AI is gambling if you don't understand what you're doing, because it basically randomly, based on probabilities of what it should generate, will generate it. So the better that you can talk to an AI model and say, like, I want to build this thing, this, with very information dense keywords related to programming, the more likely you are to get an outcome from it that you're trying to actually build and that is actually good. I'll make more videos going over AI more in depth, how to use it, how to do those things that I'm talking about. But just wanted to talk about it very briefly because a ton of people are just over relying on AI as beginners. And a lot of people are saying that you shouldn't learn how to program and you should just rely on AI. I do not think that's the case. I think that the most valuable people are people who understand how to also program without AI, that use it as a tool and at the very least understand exactly what AI is doing. All right, so now to get into projects. After you learn the basics, like I said, the next step is to create things, right? So this is where we get into projects. Now, projects are where you want to be spending 99% of your time, whether it's projects for yourself to learn something, for someone else, or for a job, etc. Like everything in life usually is some form of project. So the better that you can get at building projects and building valuable projects to people, the more success you will have in whatever you're doing, right? If you're trying to think of what your first project should be, you should get some ideas as you're learning here. That's part of the reason why I have the steps in this order also, is because once you know what's possible, you should have a lot of ideas of, oh, I can build this. Oh, this is what a computer does. Oh, this website would be awesome. Oh, this app would be awesome, etc. And the next step is to try to create a project, the first version of it, by any means possible, right? So you can use AI, do your best to understand what's actually happening though, but you basically want to get just something out and working that is valuable to somebody. The more people that your project is valuable to, the better project it will be, and the better authority or credibility or leverage or whatever else that you want to do, it will give you. If you need project ideas, just ask in my community and I'll do my best to give you some ideas. But it really depends on what you're trying to do for what project I would recommend you to build. The best projects that you can do are projects that help someone else, right? So if you have a family member who has a business, if you can use programming to build them a website that saves them 6 hours a day, that's super valuable and gives you a ton of leverage no matter what you're trying to do. If you're trying to start your own business, then you have a lot of more experience and you know what things could potentially save people time, which then you can translate into money value that then you charge them. Or if you're trying to get a job and you have a project, it looks a lot better if you say, I built this project for my uncle that saved him 6 hours a day, which over a whole year is $100,000 of time that this project saved, right? Because then that looks very impressive and they know that you understand value and you understand how to make good projects that work for other people and can consistently actually do things, right? So once you get here, the first step is to figure out a project, which figure out just something that would help you, that would help someone else. It doesn't really matter what project you pick, as long as it helps someone. And if you can't think of anything that helps anyone, just choose a random project. The main point here is that you want to get in the loop of creating things that are cool and valuable to people. So then you can learn more actually building stuff and get that ROI cycle of create something, get feedback, create something, get feedback, iterate on it, etc. That's the main cycle you want to be in every point after learning the fundamentals of programming. Everything else you are doing after learning what is possible and what you might want to do is doing it and learning how to do it better or how to do something similar to it. So once you're in projects, you just continue, if you get stuck anywhere, to use these resources in order to ask questions, find solutions, read books, etc., to see where you can level up and where you can improve the project. So after you have one project built, the next step is to get feedback and keep iterating on that project unless you find a better opportunity or have a better idea for a project to complete. The best projects are ones that you build off of. So this cycle. So once you have a project, you want to be in a cycle of feedback and improvement where you get feedback from preferably other people, and as unbiased as possible for what is good and what is bad about that project or that software, that thing you built. And then you improve it. Then you get more feedback and you improve it, and you continue this cycle as much as you can until you have a very good project that you're happy with, and you find another idea for a project that you want to build or improve on, or something else you want to learn. And the more cycles you go through this, the better. Most software engineering methodologies in the modern day and age are built off of this cycle of getting feedback and improving, feedback, improving. So it is very valuable here not to overbuild your project, and instead to get something out as quickly as possible, especially with AI where you can move very fast. Understand it, and then get feedback from other people, push out another version, get feedback, push out another version, get feedback, push out another better version. And that's how you learn very fast and how you build up very valuable projects and assets and authority. So once you're in this loop, you want to just continue in this loop as much as possible and move up, depending on your goals, to more iteratively in the same way to get closer and closer to that goal. For example, if you want to get a job, you get in this loop, you build a project for yourself, you use it, you get some feedback from yourself, you improve it, etc. for a while. Then you show one of your friends whose dad owns a business, and your friend is like, oh, my dad could really use a website for this thing. Then you build him a website, you get feedback from him, you improve it, feedback from him, improve it. You end up building him a very good website. Then he says, oh, my other business friend wants a website. He wants to pay you for it. How much would that cost? Then from there, you get that job from him. You work as a web developer for him. You continue to get feedback, improving, etc. And then get as good as possible at that thing each time, moving closer and closer to whatever your final goal is, right? If you're trying to start your own business and get your own users, like create your own SaaS company or something, you build a first version of a project, you get it into the hands of people or pitch it to people. If you just are doing a paid offer, you see what they say, you improve it so that then next time you can get more feedback, better feedback for it. Then you continue that process, and then once you've learned enough, maybe you start a different SaaS because that one wasn't good based on what you've learned from here. And then you continue the same cycle. Each time you get better and better and better and better. This is where you want to be. This is what you want to be doing. So then it's really just using these 5 ways to learn and this cycle in order to get to wherever your goals are and wherever you want to be. And that's pretty much all there is to it. Like anything else is sort of procrastination or overcomplicating things, in my opinion. A lot of beginners and a lot of people make a large mistake of overthinking things, like overthinking, oh, what project do I do? What should I use to learn? Oh, should I learn this programming language or this programming language? Just start with one thing, do it, and then get into this cycle as quickly as possible. And that's how you will grow as fast as possible and learn how to program. But anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Check out my community, skool.com/coder. It'll be in the top of the description. It's completely free. I'll have more resources related to this video in there. There's a full course. I'll help you out. I have an accountability challenge in here. And yeah, thanks for watching. Peace.